Gold, and I'm here with Dr. Nahid Angha, the 2005 inductee into the Marin Women's Hall of Fame in the area of religion. Congratulations, Nahid, and welcome. Would you tell our viewers a brief history of your childhood and how and where you grew up?
Well, my father was a Sufi master, and I was born into Sufism. Sometimes people ask me, when did you become a Sufi? And I always tell them I was born probably a Sufi. So I have learned so much from him. And when I was born, it was in his mid-20s. And it was the beginning of his search for spirituality. So I was not only his first child, I became his first student. And so I have learned Sufism from him. And actually, I have to say I have learned spirituality from him and understanding my connection to the divine from him.
Uh-huh. And you were born in Tehran?
Yes.
And when the Shah was overthrown, your family came to the U.S.?
Well, no, actually we came to the United States around 77, 78. So it was before the revolution.
Uh-huh.
And when we were here, it was the time that the revolution began, and it was the overthrow of the Shah.
And how did moving to a new country affect you?
Well, you have to learn the new culture, the new language, and of course I was educated here a long time ago, in the 60s. But you have to adjust to the new culture and new society, new system. It is okay.
Good. The robe that you're wearing, could you tell us something about that?
Well, this robe is very old. Probably it is more than 3 years old. And I have received it from my father. And this design on top of it, it says, there is no God but God. There is no small God, no idols but the greater God. And in a ceremony I wore this, and I kept it. The robe remains young, and I remain wiser. But this is an old robe. I always wear it for special occasions, not all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the design of this is also similar to the design that my father had on his own robe.
And I thought that I read that he gave you his robe, or did he just...
No, he gave me, one of the first robes that I have received from him was his own robe. It was when I was going to high school, and I was like probably 16 or 17. I still have that robe. It's a little bit big, but still I have that robe.
And what led you to your chosen path, and who influenced you along the way?
Well, I am a Sufi, but if you are talking about things that I have done, my contribution to my society, I have to say that my grandmother from my mother's side was the biggest influence in my life. She taught me how to be, how to educate myself, how to seek for a goal and how to establish a goal. And one of the things she always told me was that if you want to sit on the first row, you have to qualify yourself for the first row. Otherwise, if it is given to you, you would be gradually pushed back. So she emphasized that I have to qualify myself for any goal that I have. And that was the greatest influence in my life.
Uh-huh. Can you tell our viewers a bit about Sufism, which is the mystic branch of Islam?
Islam has two major branches, Sunni and Shia. And Sufism is the mystical path or inner traveling of Islam. So a person can be a Sufi, a Sunni and a Sufi, a Shia or a Sufi. So Sufism is ultimately the quest for the inner knowledge. Mm-hmm. I give this example many times because it is easier to know. I was in a conference and the lady asked me, well, give me Sufism 101. And I said, Sufism to Islam is like Zen to Buddhism and Kabbalah to Judaism and Gnosis to Christianity. And she says, well, that was a very good answer. So I give that answer to almost everyone.
That is a very good answer. And how does Sufism influence your dedication to human rights, interfaith cooperation, and the empowerment of others, especially women?
Well, Sufism, not only Sufism, Islam practically focuses on individual human beings. And there is a saying in Quran that says every human being has the path toward God is to the number of people. So it means that everybody has that opportunity. And thinking that this entire universe was created so you would come to existence, it gives you a great power. The only thing is that we have to remember that and recognize that power that we are given from this universe. And Sufism, one of the practices in Islam is to also serve community, charity, be of service be of service to your community. So that is a part of the practice of religion.
And can you tell us about some of the challenges and or hardships that you faced and how you overcame them?
Well, first of all, no human being can do all by himself or herself. When you accomplish something, you have accomplished it through the friendship and sisterhood and brotherhood of so many other people who support you. So it is not just one person's accomplishment. It is a row of people who are supporting you. That is one thing. Second is that it is always hard to change a system fast. You have to understand that. So you begin to change a system gradually. Of course, it means that you have to understand that what you do is the right thing. It is for the communities, for the rights of other individuals, including yourself. So you do something out of respect and honor to the entire human family. That is sometimes a little bit challenging. Sometimes I see myself defending the entire world of Islam because people ask me questions regarding war and all the injustice. And I should not do that because people are people. There are people who are honoring the entire human family, and there are people who do not. It has nothing to do with their culture or religion or maybe political system. So that is one of the challenges, meaning that our society needs to get a little bit more education than simply from the media to understand other cultures, other religions, and individual human beings within those cultures and religions. That sometimes can be a challenge. Mm-hmm. Even though I have to say I have all the way around, I have always good experiences with the community that I'm in. People are very supportive. People are very cooperative. They are very friends. So that has given me a greater support than I can imagine.
Mm-hmm. In one of your books, you said, "A mother is the first teacher of humanity and has taught every world leader." The Prophet Muhammad said, "Paradise lies under the feet of mothers." I have two questions for this. One is, how has your visibility and outspokenness and assertiveness been received by other Muslims, men and women? And how do you reconcile the Prophet's teachings about honoring women with the way women are treated in the Muslim world today?
Prophet of Islam was one of the few men who had advocated for women's rights. Not only human rights, individual rights, but also for the women's rights. At the same time, you have to understand when a teacher passes away, what remains of the teaching is like a free game. Everybody would change that according to their own cultures or their own likings and dislikings and age and time. I'm sure that it is also true for the teachings of Buddha and Jesus and Moses and so many other teachers. He has been one of the greatest advocates for women's rights, especially when he talks about, when he says paradise lies under the feet of mother. That mother includes every daughter, every sister, every wife, every mother, every grandmother. And since majority of religious people are trying to be good and be moral and ethical, so they may have a chance to the paradise. So it does not make sense to hurt the mother or take away the rights of a mother, which ultimately means every woman, in hope that he or she will get to the paradise. So that is one thing. Second is that, I forgot what was the first question. Sorry.
How has your outspokenness and visibility been received by the Muslim community?
Well, it has been received, I have to say, quite well, not only by Muslim community, by general community. And sometimes I think that some of the leaders are waiting for just one small door to open. The first step is sometimes hard for a major leader. But if there is somebody who would open that door, then they are ready to pass through that door. And then again, it is not only the Muslim leaders. When there are people who are prejudiced, it does not relate to their religion. When people are prejudiced, they are prejudiced in any form and any kind. It is not gender, it is not culture, it is not religion, it's just individual human beings.
Yes.
And the people who are open, they are open also, and has nothing to do with their culture, or well, maybe everything to do with their culture and religion, how they are. So I cannot generalize the entire world of any culture or any religion, but I have to say it depends on individual human beings.
Mm-hmm. And we spoke about this a little before, and you said that the picture of how women are treated in the Muslim world today is pretty distorted by the media. Do you want to say a little about that?
Yes. Well, majority of us receive our information from Islam or women in Islam through just browsing, channel surfing into the media. And depends what is going on in that side of the world on that moment of time, and media is capturing. Sometimes the information is very limited, so a limited information will not give you the entire scope. Out of context information will not give you the entire scope. So I don't want to criticize media, but at the same time I have to say that talking about the entire religion or how the politics within that religion works without focusing on different countries, different governments, it is very unfair to the religion and to the people. Islam covers many lands, and every land, every nation with the definition of the nation is entitled to its own identity, with its political systems and governing forces and the rights and honors. So we cannot generalize the entire world of Islam into one veil that a woman have worn, and we label women in Islam as non-significant, because it is not. We have to remember that the first ever woman president in the entire world was a Muslim woman. And still there are Muslim women presidents in Islamic countries that they are ruling and they are governing. I wish that media would also capture some of their images too.
Yes, thank you. What has made you happiest in your life's adventure?
When I'm at peace, and when I meditate, and I see that I was able to remove even one small obstacle from somebody's path, that gives me peace and happiness.
Do you have any words of wisdom for others, especially young girls, about their life choices and challenges?
Sure. I have to share with you one of the things that my father told me. When I was very young, when you are young, especially in your teens, you want to change the world, you want to capture every goal, you want to do so much. And sometimes you face difficulties or things. He told me that set a goal for yourself and achieve the goal. The only one who prevents you from achieving a goal is yourself. So make sure that you have everything that you need to have and go after a goal. So it means that even though we may have shortcomings, but shortcomings can be changed, can be transformed. And as long as we have focused more than just ourselves, we look into the entire human family. I'm sure that we cannot look into the entire human family, but if we look into humanity rather than just what is my personal benefit or what is my personal goal. I think we will find more answers and more empowerment than we can think. Because once you begin to do something good for humanity, you would be surprised how much power you will receive through your own recognition of, working or serving the humanity.
Yes. And you've also said women's power is non-traditional. It's our job to pass it on, to think bigger than our own issues and to do something for the world.
That's exactly what I have said. I have to go back to mothers being the first teacher of humanity. I seriously believe in that. For that special reason, I think if we want to have a better society, more peaceful society, probably it would be a good idea that governors or governments focus more on women, give them more opportunity, make their lives easier, so they would be able to teach their children. I'm not talking about women have the rights to go to work or not. I'm not talking about equal rights. I'm talking about what is better for women and what is better for societies. Right now, women do so much, and it is so unfair to them. Even though a woman goes to work and has to meet all the ends and pay all the bills, still she is responsible for the children. And probably that is one of the focuses of her life. There is such great bond between mothers and their children. They want to do what is best for them. I think it is a good idea to make that opportunity for them, make life a little bit easier for them.
Yes. Could you tell us some more about the Sufi Women's Association?
The Sufi Women Organization was established in 1993. It was through the work and effort of many Sufi women from around the world. It was called Sufi Women because the people who founded this organization were Sufis and from different schools of Sufism. But gradually it welcomed women from other faiths and sometimes no faiths, not a special religion. Since the focus of the organization is based on human rights, we focus on women's rights and children's rights. We have chapters around the world. One of our major, very active chapters is in Indonesia. They have been very supportive of not only the headquarter organization, but also for the mission of the entire organization. They have been actually through the contribution of many of the chapters around the world, we were able to rebuild an orphanage in Indonesia when Indonesia was going through a riot, which was like a few years ago. And many places were destroyed. So we were able to collect money and give to the Indonesian chapters. They were able to build an orphanage, rebuild a girls' orphanage. They have also been able to adopt some of those children. And I found that very fascinating because they practice what they preach or what they teach. Also in Egypt, our chapter in Egypt, they were able to create an institute for the girls who do not have any education and they are just in the street. So they would they would learn an art or some kind of career building, like tailoring, sewing, hairdressing, typing, so different kinds of profession that they would benefit them. And they have established that institute, so many of the young girls would go to that institute, they learn a profession, they go out and actually make a living out of what they have learned, rather than living a life of the street, which was very important. We were also able to put together the life stories of the Sufi women of the present time. It is a series. First volume was out, so it is going to be a series of books. And the story of that is in one of our meetings, I thought there have been many Sufi women, or there have been many women who have contributed so much to the advancement of civilization, but somehow their biographies or their names or their story is not visible in the books of history. So rather like 200 years from now, people go back and take a look and say, well, who were those women in 21st century? So let us to write our stories and keep that for reference in the future. So we had a few women from around the world who wrote their stories. It is in the first volume, and we are also collecting more autobiography for the other volumes. Another important thing that we have done, Sufi Women Organization has done, was putting a book on the story of hijab, the veil. We had many scholars, Muslim and non-Muslims, to write about the veils, and we have learned that actually veil was not Islamic to begin with. It was one of the customs of the many cultures, old and new, and it was not just limited to Islam. And we also learned more about what was said about the veil or hijab in Islam, which is not on the Book of Islam, which was not that much as it is publicized in the entire world about Islam. And the next thing that we were able to do was put together a conference on women's wisdom and women in action, which we are hoping that it would be an annual conference or maybe every 2 years conference. We invited people of different faiths one day to talk about women's rights and their contribution to recognize the rights of women. And also we had, one day we had just Muslim women to talk about their own issues and their rights. One thing that we are also thinking about, and we had several meetings, was put together a conference on only veil, or the myth behind the veil. So we would invite scholars from around the world, preferably from Islamic countries. There are actually a few women who have written about the veil. So they can come, they talk. We are also collecting veils from around the world. So maybe it would be as soon as we receive them and we begin to put them together, then it can be a display or some kind of traveling museum with the story of each veil, because sometimes when we think about veil or hair covering, we think about covering from head to toe, and which some people, especially in the African countries, because of the heat, they cover themselves. But each culture has a different story and different forms and different styles of veil. I think gathering them would be also a beautiful thing to have.
Can you tell us some more about the IAS and the kind of work that you do with the United Nations and in different countries in the world?
We have been an NGO, non-governmental organization, with the Department of Public Information, which means that we also work within the mission of the United Nations, but at the same time introduce and publicize about the work that the United Nations is doing throughout the world or in the United States. We have been given opportunity to talk. I have represented my organization in one of those lectures. We talked about peaceful solutions to conflicts. We have talked about the culture of peace, like in 2000, I think it was 2000. And I have been in communication with many of those NGOs. Through those lectures, you get to know more people and organizations and what they are doing.
And how would you like to be remembered?
Other than young and beautiful. But long time ago, when I was beginning to bring these many Sufis from around the world to a gathering, somebody asked me, what do you want to be remembered for? And I said, well, just imagine there is a beautiful picture of all the good people who have done something nice for the benefit of humanity. Even if I'm just a small little dots on that picture, still I would be shown in that greater image. I think just the work that I have done, not only for women, just for my own personal well-being and for the education that I provided to other people through my own personal example would be good.
Nice. It's been a pleasure to be here with you, to talk with you, to get to know you.
Well, thank you so much, and I have to say I'm very honored to be recognized by the Marin Hall of Fame. I'm actually